I gotta say, I'm always interested when there is a topic or an article that's talking about Dragon Age. And this one says the following. Basically, no one at BioWare knows how Dragon Age works anymore, so don't expect a remaster like Mass Effect's, even if one would sell super well. And I think our boy Mark is making two separate points here. And to be honest, both are pretty believable. For starters, the technical problems are probably real, and this is the part that stands out to me the most. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition was difficult to make, but BioWare had one huge advantage. All three games were built on Unreal Engine 3 with relatively similar technology. That meant the developers could modernize the games without rebuilding them from scratch. And for Dragon Age, well, it's a completely different story. The first game, Dragon Age Origins, was made in Eclipse engine, derived from Aurora. Then the second one, Dragon Age 2, was made again from Eclipse engine, so the same engine but heavily modified. And for the third game, the Inquisition, the engine that was used was Frostbite. So essentially we are talking about three different technologies that are stacking together. And when in the article I read that basically no one at BioWare knows the Aurora/Eclipse tech anymore, I don't really find that surprising. BioWare has had a massive turnover over the past decade, and many of the people who build Origins have left the studio. You gotta understand, game engines aren't like Word documents. You can't simply open a 17-year-old project and hit compile. Modern operating systems, compilers, middleware, and control SDKs have all changed dramatically. The second point that was made in this article is that this would sell. That is, the game when it gets remastered. And I think I would agree with our boy Mark here. I mean, look at Baldur's Gate 3. CRPGs have become far more mainstream than they were in 2009. And let's not forget, Dragon Age Origins was already considered one of the greatest RPGs ever made, but it was also criticized even back then for dated animations, muddy textures, awkward combat sometimes, and clunky UI. And to be honest, I don't really care about dated animations and muddy textures, but definitely when it comes to awkward combat and clunky UI, there is always a way to make these things better. So essentially, if you have a remaster that updates those aspects, which I already discussed, while leaving the gameplay intact, well, that could definitely find an audience. I mean, imagine this. First, you get a full graphical overhaul, if you really care about these things. Then you have improved character models, improved controls, UI, quality of life features, 60 plus FPS, and obviously all DLCs included. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, that's a compelling package. However, and this is by the way where everything goes down the drain, the real problem isn't tech, it's EA's willingness to fund it. Because after Electronic Arts reportedly wasn't happy with Dragon Age Veilguard's commercial performance, and to be honest with you, that game should have never been created in the first place, it's kinda difficult to imagine executives greenlighting another expensive Dragon Age project. And even though a remaster sounds safe, it still isn't cheap. We're basically talking about years of engineering work on obsolete tech for a franchise whose latest entry underperformed. So from a business perspective, EA may conclude that these developers are better spent working on the next Mass Effect or an entirely different new project. However, if you ask me, I actually think there's a better solution. Rather than a traditional remaster, I would definitely like to see a full remake of Dragon Age Origins. I mean, Origins is the game with the strongest reputation and the biggest nostalgia factor, and if EA rebuilds it in a modern engine while preserving writing, choices, the companions, and tactical combat, it could become the definitive version of the game. Because trying to remaster all three games at once feels incredibly ambitious given how different they are technically. Also, I would like to point out that remastering the second and the third game, I don't really have an interest to play them at all. I'm just interested in Dragon Age Origins. So to conclude, when veteran developers leave, they take years of institutional knowledge with them, and source code alone isn't enough. If nobody remembers how the tools, pipelines, and custom engine quirks work, remastering older games become drastically more expensive. And Dragon Age is just one example of a problem that many long-running studios are starting to face. Also, I would definitely like to see Dragon Age Origins, but for the second and the third game, just no. Just ignore them, they do not exist. Give us Dragon Age Origins and everybody's going to be happy because we can finally play the very best edition of that game. But at the moment, I don't think that will ever happen, so the best thing that we can do is just put the old Dragon Age Origins and enjoy it once again if you are that nostalgic. Because trust me, that is one amazing game, and no matter how long you spend inside of it, it's always going to be an amazing experience. And that's basically my take on this news. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And that's it from me, until the next one.